In this video, we'll learn how to use Ansible to do some zoning on Brocade switches. Before we get to Ansible, let's talk about fiber channel and zoning. On a fiber channel network, you typically connect servers and storage devices like a storage array. Your servers will connect to your storage array. Without zoning, your server can access the data, but they can also talk to each other, which can be a problem if they're not in the same security zone. With the use of zoning, you can secure your fiber channel network by allowing communication only between your hosts and your storage array, for example. In this example, we see two zones, Zone 1 that contains only the first server and the storage array, and a Zone 2 that contains only server 2 and the storage array. With this configuration, each host is able to access the storage array, but they cannot communicate together, which is what we want. Zoning relies on three zoning object types: aliases, zones, and configurations. First, aliases. Aliases are optional but strongly recommended. An alias can contain one or more worldwide port name. It can also contain one or more physical port of a switch, but this is not a recommended way to do zoning. Instead of having worldwide port names that are frankly not easy to distinguish, you use names that allows you to know what you're working with. The next object type, and obviously the most important, are zones. A zone can contain one or more worldwide port names or physical ports. As I said earlier, zoning is recommended with worldwide port names and not with zones. You will generally use aliases instead of entering directly worldwide port names, but it is optional. When you use zoning, communication is only allowed between members of the same zone. An object, a worldwide port name, or a physical port can of course belong to multiple zones. If two objects are not in a common active zones, they are not able to communicate. The last type of object is a configuration. A configuration can contain one or more zones. There is only one active configuration at a time, and only zones in the active configurations are actually active and allow communication. For more information on Ansible and how to install Ansible, please see the video that is linked. Ansible can manage zoning on Brocade switch with the brocade.fos collection. To install the brocade.fos collection, enter on the command line ansible-galaxy collection install brocade.fos. After a few seconds, the collection is installed and ready to be used. Let's start by creating some aliases. First, we create a playbook with our favorite text editor. Brocade switches have a restricted shell, so we can't use the normal Ansible inventory system. So we will disable the inventory by specifying host localhost and a local connection. In order to avoid writing each time the name of the collection, we use the collections tag and specify the collection. We disable the fact gathering since we won't use them. The switch password shouldn't be stored in a clear text file, so we will prompt it from the user each time we run the playbook. Then we create our task, we give it a meaningful name, and we use the Brocade zoning alias module. We enter the credentials, which are the switch IP address or names, the user, in our case admin, and the password. For the password, we use the brocade_password variable we defined earlier. We put it between curly braces to indicate that it's a variable, and since the curly braces are a special character in YAML, we put them between double quotes. Our switch hasn't HTTPS certificate installed, so we specify HTTPS false. If you created certificates for your switch, indicate true here. If your switch has logical switch enabled, indicate the number of the logical switch you want to use. In my case, it's 127. If your switch doesn't have logical switch enabled, enter -1. Then we specify aliases and a list of aliases we want to create. We give the name of each alias and the members, which can be ports, physical ports, or worldwide port names. As I said, it is recommended to use worldwide port names for zoning. Here we enter one worldwide port name. Then we create a second alias, and in this case we will add two worldwide port names for this alias. We save our playbook and we run it with Ansible-playbook and the name of the playbook. We can ignore the warnings about the inventory. We enter the switch password and the playbook runs. We can see that some changes were made because the line changed localhost appears. If we look inside our switch on the right, we see that the two aliases were created successfully. If we run the playbook again, we see that we have no error and that nothing was done because instead of change localhost, we have OK localhost. To delete aliases, the playbook will be very similar. So let's copy our playbook and create a new one, edit it. We can keep most of the playbook. We just go at the bottom and replace aliases with aliases to delete. We don't need to indicate the members since we're deleting aliases. We save our playbook. We run the playbook the exact same way with Ansible-playbook. We can see that some changes were made. And if we look in our switch, we see that the two aliases are not there anymore. Creating zones is very similar to created aliases. So let's copy our playbook and we just need to change a few lines. We replace the name of the modules with Brocade zoning zone. The alias variable is replaced with zones. We give the name of our zone. In this case, that will be alias 1 under alias 2. And the members will be the aliases that are member of this zone. You could indicate physical port or world port name directly, but it is recommended to use aliases instead. Let's remove the second one, save the playbook. We can see that the zone we're about to create doesn't exist in the switch. Let's run the playbook, enter the password, and we can see that some changes were made. And if we look in the switch, we see that our new zone is now present. If we run the playbook again, no error, and we see that no change happens. Configurations are a bit different. We generally don't create new configurations. We modify an existing configuration by adding or removing zones from the existing configuration. We still copy our existing playbook and we will do a few modifications. We replace the name of the module by Brocade zoning CFG. We replace aliases with CFGs. We indicate the name of our existing configuration, CFG_1, and we indicate the zone we want to add to the configuration. In our case, alias_1 alias_2. And here, don't forget this line. If we don't add the line members add only column true, Ansible will remove all the zones currently in our configuration, which is probably not what you want. We save our playbook. We check in the switch to see the configuration we have, and we can see that it doesn't have the zone that we just created. We run the playbook with Ansible-playbook as usual, enter the switch password. We see that a change was made, and if we look at the configuration in the switch, we see that the zone is now part of the configuration, and it is in the effective configuration, meaning that the zone is active. If we run it again, no error and no change on the switch. For reference, you can use the Ansible documentation. You can also check on Ansible Galaxy the Brocade.fos collection documentation. It describes in details all the modules and their parameters. I hope you enjoyed this video and that I will see you soon on 01BN.